Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. The Star Trek universe will never be the same now that a tragedy has claimed the lives of billions across the galaxy. But with help from its least likely new ally, Star Trek, the last starship has successfully brought the franchise's greatest captain back from the dead. While the return of Captain James T. Kirk should be cause for celebration, the events which have called for such an extreme resurrection are completely the opposite. Fans already knew about the devastating warp catastrophe dubbed the Burn, but the true scale of the disaster is made clear in Star Trek: The Last Starship -1. The first issue of the new Star Trek series from IDW reveals that the warp-triggered destruction has left only a dozen Starfleet captains alive, controlling a minor fleet of now short-range ships. With the United Federation of Planets expected to dissolve in months, its salvation comes from the last place anyone expects: the returned Borg Cooperative. Set in the year 3069, the former villains have been believed to be defeated for more than half a millennium, and the new Borg representative Agnes, portrayed by Alison Pill when last seen in Star Trek Picard, comes seeking peace and willing to help construct a transwarp vessel, the titular Last Starship, to save the Federation. For a price, of course. But the debut issue saves its best twist for last. The Borg's unspoken requirement is access to the top-secret Daystrom station. Acquiring a blood sample from Starfleet's oldest legend, Agnes uses Borg technology to restore the hero the Federation will truly need, Captain James Kirk. While the Borg seem trustworthy in their efforts thus far, there is still some scientific mystery surrounding the actual scene of Kirk's rebirth. While carrying out the actual reconstruction of the late captain, Agnes alludes to Starfleet's own clandestine and hopeless plan to resurrect Kirk themselves. The rebuilt human body is, as Agnes says, something new: a body remade from a recorded blueprint and a mind filled with the last recorded memories of James T. Kirk. But having achieved this remade Kirk through Borg science, the result is something that would apparently be an insult to call a clone. Whatever the Borg are up to, access to Daystrom Station to enact this new creation was explicitly part of their plan all along. And while old grudges die hard, it does appear that the Borg Cooperative has shrugged off their villainous past, leaving the future wide open for what role or what purpose James Kirk will now have thrust upon him. It is a historic moment in the franchise, but just the latest delivered by the star creative team of Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, Adrian Bonilla, and Heather Moore. And considering the questions now piling up as the Federation falls apart, The Last Starship is instantly a must-read story for fans of the Borg, Kirk, or Trek history. For nearly 6 decades, Captain James T. Kirk has stood as one of science fiction's greatest icons. His swagger, charm, and boldness defined an era of storytelling, and William Shatner's embodiment of the role made Kirk larger than life. Over the years, Star Trek has found new ways to honor him, through homages, alternate timelines, and younger versions played by Chris Pine or Paul Wesley. But in the boldest move Star Trek has ever attempted, the franchise is preparing to bring Captain Kirk back in a way that defies expectations, reshapes canon, and asks the question: what happens when the greatest starship captain in history returns to reclaim his place among the stars? This isn't just nostalgia. This is the ultimate gamble, a revival that could either fracture the Star Trek timeline beyond repair or elevate it into an unprecedented era of storytelling. Kirk's official story ended in 1994's Star Trek Generations, where he sacrificed himself on Veridian 3 to help Picard stop Dr. Sauron. For years, many fans debated whether his death was a fitting conclusion. Some loved the idea of Kirk dying a hero, his life ending as boldly as he lived. Others believed his death was anticlimactic, a stumble rather than a triumphant finale for Star Trek's most iconic captain. But Kirk never really went away. He has haunted the franchise, from novels in the Shatnerverse that resurrected him through Borg technology, to Pine's rebooted version of the character in J.J. Abrams' films. Now, with strange new worlds rewriting elements of the original series timeline, and Paramount hungry for new frontiers, Kirk is about to be resurrected in the most ambitious way possible. The resurrection plot. The revival centers on a daring premise. Kirk didn't truly die on Viridian 3. Instead, the Nexus, the ribbon of energy that preserves perfect moments in time, fractured reality more than anyone understood. In this bold twist, Kirk was never lost. Instead, he was preserved within overlapping timelines, a living paradox. This opens the door for William Shatner to step back into the role, not as the swashbuckling young captain we once knew, but as an older, battle-worn Kirk who has lived through realities unimaginable. He remembers his Enterprise crew, he remembers Picard, and he remembers dying. Yet here he is, alive, displaced, and holding knowledge of universes colliding. This version of Kirk isn't simply returning for fan service. He's being positioned as the linchpin of a massive Star Trek multiverse arc, one that will unite the disparate shows, Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Picard, and even the Kelvin timeline films. Kirk becomes the one man who can see the fractures in Starfleet's history, and he must decide whether to preserve them or destroy them. Shatner's triumphant return. At 94 years old, William Shatner remains larger than life, still capable of commanding a stage with his voice and presence. But instead of de-aging technology or stunt doubles pretending he's 35 again, Star Trek is embracing Shatner's real age as part of the story. This Kirk is grizzled, reflective, and painfully aware of his mortality. Imagine the weight in his words as he stands once more on a starship bridge, whispering, "I swore I'd never see this again. But here we are, the stars calling me back." This approach not only respects Shatner's legacy, but deepens Kirk's mythos. He's no longer just the reckless adventurer. He's a man who has seen everything: love, loss, death, and rebirth, and yet still hungers for one more chance to be the captain. The multiverse conflict. Kirk's return wouldn't just be a sentimental victory lap. It sets the stage for Star Trek's boldest narrative arc in history. With universes colliding, timelines merging, and paradoxes threatening the fabric of reality, Kirk becomes the only one who understands what's at stake. He has lived in multiple timelines, seen himself played by others, led different crews, even died multiple deaths. His knowledge makes him dangerous, both to Starfleet and to the villains seeking to weaponize temporal rifts. Some in Starfleet would see him as a threat, an anomaly that must be contained. Others see him as the key to preventing the collapse of reality itself. The central conflict? Kirk must confront not just external enemies, but himself. He will come face to face with Paul Wesley's Strange New Worlds Kirk and Chris Pine's Kelvin timeline Kirk. 3 Kirks, 1 destiny. Together, they must determine whether James T. Kirk is meant to be one man or an eternal archetype spanning infinite universes. Emotional reunions. Of course, fans crave the emotional punch of seeing Kirk reconnect with his old friends. Star Trek could weave in holodeck recreations, Nexus visions, or temporal echoes to allow Kirk to once again share moments with Spock, McCoy, Uhura, and Scotty. The emotional heart of this revival lies in these reunions, reminding us that the strength of Star Trek has always been its characters, not just its starships. Particularly powerful idea. Kirk encounters Spock, not Leonard Nimoy's version, but Ethan Peck's younger iteration. At first, they are strangers, but in a chilling and beautiful exchange, Kirk recognizes him instantly, whispering, "You'll always be my friend, in every time, in every world." Moments like this would honor the past while cementing the revival as more than nostalgia. A risk worth taking. Reviving Kirk is a gamble. Some fans will say it undermines his sacrifice in generations. Others will argue that Star Trek should focus on building new characters, not resurrecting old ones. But Star Trek has always thrived on risk, on boldly going where no franchise has gone before. The truth is, Captain Kirk has never been just one man. He is a symbol, the embodiment of courage, leadership, and humanity's drive to explore. By bringing him back now, in an era where Star Trek is juggling multiple timelines and series, Kirk can serve as the unifying figure the franchise needs. And if anyone deserves to stand once more on the bridge of the Enterprise, to hear the hum of the warp core and the call of the stars, it's James Tiberius Kirk. The final frontier. The boldest revival of all time isn't just about resurrecting a character. It's about closing a circle. William Shatner once said he wished Kirk could ride into the sunset as a hero, not die under a pile of rocks. This revival offers that chance. It gives Kirk the final frontier he was denied, a last mission that honors his legacy while embracing the future of Star Trek. Picture it. The camera pans across the stars. The Enterprise glides into frame. On the bridge, Kirk sits in the captain's chair, older but unbroken, eyes blazing with the fire of a man who has cheated death itself. His voice, steady and resolute, rings out. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.